boys and girls. Thanks so much for hanging out with us for a few minutes today. We are going to play a game of charades, and we're going to have our Bible lesson, and we're going to have a little fun in the way we tell our Bible lesson today. But before we do that, I want to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there, and a very special Happy Mother's Day to my own mom. There were 5 of us growing up. I have a brother and 3 sisters, and so you guys know my mom had her hands full. She's an amazing lady and such a wonderful mom. I just love you so much, Mom, and I hope I get to see you today. And boys and girls, don't forget to wish a Happy Mother's Day to your moms, grandmas, aunties, all the special women in your life. So, we are going to start with charades. First up is going to be Mr. Bill. Are you ready?
Yes.
Go for it. You got something on your arm? A bug bite? A freckle? Oh, that's the face you make when we're running late. Must be a watch. All right, great job, Mr. Bill. Okay, now we have a video in from Henry.
He's lifting something. Now he's jumping. Is jumping really part of it? Is it a small thing you're moving? Are you smashing a spider? Show me one more time. Are you turning on a light switch? You are! Great job!
Henry, great job turning on the lights. Thanks so much for that video. Okay, one more. It gets to be my turn this time.
Exercise. Squats. Oh, you're sitting in a chair.
Bill did a good job guessing, didn't he? So what did the 3 things that we acted out have in common? Let's see, Mr. Bill did a watch, and Henry did a light switch, and I did a chair. Well, the first 2 both have to have power, but the last one doesn't. What do you think they all have in common? Well, you know what it is? They all are something we usually depend on. We think that anytime we hit the light switch, the power's just going to be on and the light's going to turn on and we're going to be able to see where we're going. Or whenever we check the watch, that it's going to have the right time. Or, you know, when we sit in a chair, we kind of expect it to hold us up, don't we? But is that always the case? Sometimes chairs break. And I know some of you this week had a power outage. So when you walked in and turned the light on in a room, it didn't work, did it? And even our watch can run low on batteries. So they're not always something we can completely depend on. What other things do you depend on that maybe don't work all the time? Can you think of a couple others to add to the list? Well, you know what? Today we are going to talk about what we can depend on all the time. Not just some of the time, but every single time. In this week's parable, Jesus tells us about a man who has 2 sons. Hold on. I have some help to tell the story today. Don't you love potato heads? Howdy, y'all. Meet my 2 sons. So the man had 2 sons that he loved very much. And the older son was a pretty good worker. But the younger son, he was in a hurry to just kind of grow up and go off and do his own thing. Now, the father had planned someday to share his property with his 2 sons. But the younger son went up to the dad and said, "Hey, Dad, can I have my money now?" Well, what would you do if you were that man? Would you have given him his money now? Or would you have said, "Hey, that's my money. I'm going to keep it until I'm ready to give it"? Well, the dad was very generous. "Here you go, son. You can have your money now." The son was very happy to have his money now because it meant he could go do whatever he wanted to do. And in fact, he decided he was not going to stay home. He was going to leave to a faraway city. So he takes his money and he packs his bags and he heads down the road to a distant city. Do you know what happened there? Let's check in with Mr. Bill. And Mr. Bill, would you read for us Luke 15, verse 13 to tell us what happened?
Not long after that, the young son packed up all he had, Then he left for a country far away. There he wasted his money on wild living.
So the younger son, he took his money and he went to the faraway city. And he gets there and he just starts spending that money. He was partying and he was living the good life and he had lots of friends. But eventually, that money ran out. And one day, he opened his bag and there was nothing left. He was shocked. What in the world was he gonna do? Well, his new friends, yeah, they didn't hang around. They weren't as concerned with him now that he didn't have any money. Well, he knew he was gonna have to find a job. He was gonna have to quit partying. He's not so happy now, is he? All his money was gone. But he did find a job. Now, it's not what you might have considered a good job. The son's job was taking care of a bunch of pigs. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but he didn't make a lot of money doing it. And he didn't have enough money even to feed himself sometimes. You know what? He was so hungry that the food that the pigs were eating began to look pretty good to him. And he stopped and he thought about it, and he thought, there's got to be a better way. What could I do? Kennedy, could you read Luke 15, verses 17 and 18, and tell us what he thought of?
When he came to his senses, he said, "How many of my father's hired men have food to spare, and here I am starving to death? I will set out and go back to my father and say to him, 'Father, I have sinned against heaven and against you.'"
Thank you, Kennedy. Yes, that's exactly what he thought of. He thought, well, you know, even my dad's servants are well taken care of, better than I am taking care of these hogs. I should just go home and tell him how badly I messed up. Now, if it was you, would you be worried that your dad might be mad when you got there? Yeah, I would too. But he decided it was worth the risk that his dad would be mad at him. Because he'd just tell his dad how wrong he'd been, and that he sinned against him, and he sinned against God, and that he was willing to work for him like a servant. So, he leaves the pigs, and he heads home.
Bye, pigs!
Well, his father had missed his son so much. He'd been so sad since he'd been away. Oh, man, I wish my son would come home. Every day I look for him, hoping to see him. Well, before the younger son could even get close to the house, his dad seen him and came running to hug him. "Oh, son, I'm so glad you're home. I missed you so much." And together they went home. You know what? He was so happy to see him, he threw a big party for him. Well, the son, he wasn't upset anymore, was he? No, he was so happy that he was home. He was so happy that Dad loved him and was willing to just forgive him. And you know what? God is just like that. When we mess up, if we tell him, "I'm really sorry. Man, did I get this one wrong?" God forgives us. I mean, he loves us so much that even when we mess up, he's right there waiting for us to come home. Just like the man was waiting for his son to come home. So, this week what I want you to do is I want you to think about, what haven't I told God about? Now, God already knows, right? But God wants us to come to him and say we're sorry. And, you know, if you haven't already done so, you need to say you're sorry to Mom and Dad too. But most importantly, you need to fix your relationship with God. See, what Jesus was trying to get the Pharisees to understand was that they didn't have to be perfect all the time. That the people that Jesus was hanging out with and having dinner with, yes, they sinned. But God had made a way for them to be forgiven. Now, back in the Old Testament, that was by animal sacrifice. But Jesus knew that he was about to become the sacrifice for all of us when he died on that cross. So just remember, when you mess up, you know, it's okay. You don't have to beat yourself up over it. You just need to admit it. Admit it to your mom or dad or grandma, whatever adult maybe might be with you. And you need to admit it to God, because he loves us and he forgives us all the time, no matter what it is. So that's our lesson for the week. I hope you guys guys had fun with our potato heads. We'll see you next time. And once again, happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. Boys and girls, I love you. I miss you bunches. Bye-bye.